Now, in a bold and strategic move aimed at transforming Nigeria's agricultural economy, the Lagos state government launched the Produce for Lagos program alongside a groundbreaking 500 billion naira offtake guarantee fund. The initiative, unveiled at the Lagos House in Ikeja, is designed to secure the state's food supply, generate employment, and create a catalyst of new national agricultural prosperity. In his speech, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu described the launch as a defining moment in the state's commitment for food security and economic resilience. The program was created to enhance food security and promote economic development in the state. My guest is Ms. Abisola Olusonya. She is the Commissioner for Agriculture and Food System, Lagos State. Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think let's start with you giving us an overview of the Produce for Lagos 500 billion naira offtake guarantee fund. Tell us about this. Tell us a whole lot in it, I know, but give us an overview of it.
Yes. Okay, so the Produce for Lagos 500 billion naira offtake guarantee fund, it's a sort of financial arrangement or a pool from private sector players, investors, to guarantee offtake from producers. The way we are structured now as a market, as a food systems, the market is largely left to itself. And that's the reason why, in terms of having price points that are consistent and stable, it's quite difficult. You can have the cost of tomatoes coming into Lagos this morning at X price, and in the evening, the price has practically maybe more than tripled or quadrupled. And that is because there is no system in place to act as a checkmate or to balance the system. Also, because there is no stabilizer around guaranteed quantities also coming into the state, you have all of this indices that actually more or less destabilize the system. And for that reason, there is no guaranteed price points for anyone and across several key markets in the state. This guarantee offtake fund essentially acts as a market de-risker. As a producer of food, once I know that there's a guaranteed fund, I can easily go into a contractual agreement with an offtaker based on a certain quantity, a certain quality, standard, and price point, and produce, and at the point of delivery, I have my money. Now, if the off-taker refuses to pay me my money, even though I have met all the required terms of the contract, because the fund is backed by the state, it is guaranteed, the fund still pays me as a producer my money. So essentially, you are de-risking, and at the same time, you are giving assurances to producers and those within the system that once you produce, you meet the certain requirements put in place, you get your fund. And this fund is pulled together by the private sector.
Interesting stuff, as always. But I want to ask specifically that how will this development now help boost food security, reduce imports, and enhance agricultural productivity? Now, not just in Lagos State, across the country, because I saw state governors there. Well, we'll go there in our next question.
Yes. So in terms of enhancing or at least supporting the food security drive, I believe even from the beginning of this administration of the presidency, food security has actually been at the very top in terms of priority. We see that all of the efforts of the federal government, particularly around increasing and improving mechanization, increasing production, and all of the necessary supports to ensure that productivity goes up. You still need a market to actually have all of those food items come into. We know for a fact that Lagos is still the biggest market for food in sub-Saharan Africa, and by reason of the population, by reason of geographic location, it is that commercial nerve center for the country. So if we can guarantee that whatever you produce, Lagos will offtake. Don't forget already, Lagos is of taking, but it is in a very informal way. So what we are trying to do essentially is to put a structure around what is already existing. We are not trying to disrupt the system. We are only enhancing and putting a framework that investors can actually see the traceability around their funds and know that these are the returns they would also get out of it. Same way with those within the system. If I put in this X amount of money towards producing corn, towards producing rice, towards producing tomatoes, I know that this is the profit I'm going to yield after so and so time frame. You're essentially just putting risk factors and risk framework in place for everyone to now be assured, if I put in X, I'll get X plus 5%, I'll get X plus 10%. Once people have assurances around investment, then you will see more investment within the space. And this is something largely the agricultural sector has actually had against it. When you have a system that you do not have the right data in place, you will see it as being highly risky or being very risky. And that is what we are trying to showcase. Agriculture can be de-risked if you have the right financial structure in place and the right framework around offtake and meeting supply and demand gaps. Also, in terms of enhancing food imports, once productivity increases, then we will rely less on food imports from outside of the shores of this country. All of us as a country, the 36 states, including the FCT, we have the capacity and capability to produce the food we need. We can be food sovereign. It's all a function of connecting the dots, and connecting the dots is all of us working together. All of us cannot be producers of all the foods we consume. Every state has its area of competitive and comparative advantage. Some states are very good in producing grains. Some are very good in producing perishables. Some are very good in producing cash crops for export. If we all stick to the areas where we are all good at, and then there's also a state that is very good in being the market, let us all connect and we'll be able to ensure food supplies happen, food production is incentivized, market players benefit, consumers have guaranteed access to these foods at good prices and in very good and convenient locations. We'll be talking about a food sovereign nation where everyone is happy and we have less issues around food malnutrition and what have you. And like I said, productivity is all about, if I can be guaranteed how much I will make in terms of investing in this space, then you have more people get into agriculture as a business and not just as a pastime or a hobby or something they do after retirement. People would gladly and willingly get into it right from the get-go and see it also as a business opportunity, the way they will see the oil market or the oil sector and energy sector, communication sector. We want to show agriculture and food systems in the same light.
Before I go to my next question, let me take it up from where you stopped, Honorable Commissioner, because I'm interested that we get to that point where agriculture becomes so attractive to the young ones, like you said, just like getting a banking job, getting working with the oil and gas firm, and everyone gets interested in agriculture. What are those things you think needs to be put in place? I know you're working on a lot of initiatives to drive the youth into agriculture in Lagos State, but what more do you think can be done to really make agriculture as attractive as it should be, and not just thinking that it's for the old ones or just for those that maybe don't have anything to do?
Yes. So as a student going to school today, when I'm asked what career pathway do I want to, take, the first thing many think of would be, what is the potential in terms of how much money I can make within the space to cater to the future I see for myself. I want a future where, I can afford certain things. I want a future where I can make family members and my community happy. I want a future where I can contribute to my community and do so much for others around me. This is what people think of. This is what young ones think about. And that also helps to shape the kind of career they seek for in life. When it comes to agriculture, the exemplars that these young ones see out there, it is not as encouraging. And this is because those who are within the space have been disincentivized and discouraged by reason of not having the right framework in place to even operate and make the right kind of margins. And what we are trying to showcase now is there is a better way that the agriculture and food systems can be portrayed by reason of creating the right infrastructure, the right frameworks in place, and connecting production to market. All of the interventions, or should I say majority of the interventions in the system in the last couple of decades, be it 3 decades ago, 4 decades ago, is usually tailored towards production only. Nobody looks at the end system, and this is markets. Markets largely drive what should happen at production, but we think the other way around. We have been thinking production should drive what the market demands. Yes, it can happen that way, but at the end of the day, you have a very fragmented system. You have a system where the players, or should I say the middlemen, make more money than those who even produced themselves. And at the end of the day, the consumer is still not getting the right price point or the best quality for that price point they are paying for. And in between, the government pays a huge sum of money to ensure that waste, post-harvest losses, I mean, you have to deal with the waste that comes along with this kind of broken system. You must also deal with a lot of loopholes within the system that ends up costing money in terms of health implications, negative health implications, in terms of let's say carbon emissions related to post-harvest losses, and so on and so forth. We all pay dearly for this system that has been broken, and by that reason, you don't see a lot of young ones wanting to play in the sector. We are trying to showcase that it can be different. We've seen it in other climes across the world, be it the Netherlands, be it in France, be it in the US. Agriculture is a main sector that a lot of these countries rely on in terms of economic growth, in terms of productivity. Why can't it be the same for us? And we feel that if we can de-risk this sector and show investors that this is the place to play, and then you now see the right set of people also coming into the sector to play and showcase that, yes, they can make money. You will be able to incentivize and exemplify to the young ones that this is a sector for now, for the future. There's enough money to be made in here. And at the same time, you'll be doing all of us a favor by playing in it and feeding us all. So these are things we are trying to showcase. We have several initiatives that we have been working across. We have many young entrepreneurs in the agro-food system that we have been working with under the Lagos Agri-Innovation Club. We've been working with culinary artists, just trying to showcase that, see, when we say food systems is not only about those in production, which is what many people tailor agriculture to be. It is much more than that. A farmer can produce. If the logistics provider is not available, he has done only something for himself. For the rest of us, the food hasn't gotten to us. Therefore, all of his efforts are wasted. If the banker does not finance the logistics provider or finance the farmer, nothing would happen. If the trader who should offtake or have the food items to sell to the consumer is also not available, then the chain would always be broken. So when we see that these different legs, they are all intertwined, they are all interconnected, then we can showcase to our young ones that, see, agriculture and food systems is all encompassing. It is not only that you can be or must be a farmer. You can be a logistics provider. You can be a bulk food aggregator. You can be an agro financier. You can be a bulk food trader. You can be whatever it is you want to be within the chain. And we feel that when we showcase these, then you have more people interested in the space. And those changes we want to see in the agro and food systems, we'll surely see it.
We saw governors present at this event, private sector players, and all of them at this gathering. I must say, commendable one. We've seen a series of partnerships before now with Lagos and other states and all of that. But I think I would ask you again, what more of partnerships are we having in recent times? I know Niger is notable for a lot of agricultural work, by the governor. They call him Mr. Agriculture even in some cases. So, but what sort of partnerships should we be expecting more from the Center of Excellence with all of these states?
Okay, so with the launch of this fund and the rollout of the initiative itself, we'll be embarking on roadshows. So we will be moving from state to state. We have teams set up. Now, the partnership with the states, it's more about from a regulatory body to another regulatory body. You know the body of farmers, the associations, the cooperatives you have. that are largely doing production of foods and the various value chains, the specific value chains of comparative advantage to your state. We need to see these farmers. Our own private vehicle entity, and this is the entity that caters to all of the private sector investments, and how we even want to drive our entire infrastructure around markets and the transformation we have been working hard so far on. We want them to be able to see these farmers. We want you to be able to more or less assure us of the credibility of those farmers. We want them registered. We want to see those farmers registered with you, and we can have them registered with our own off-takers and our own private sector vehicle entity. And from this interactions, more or less, the states also are catalyzing production in their own states. And for that reason as well, all of the necessary support required by those producers from their states, that intervention can be more precise. As it is, when many state governments, when we do interventions in the agri-space, I won't say it is a lot of guesswork, but there's a lot of guesswork involved, because when there is no streamlined framework around how the produce gets to market, the leakages in between end up wasting all of the effort we put in the first place. But now, when there's a guaranteed market, there's a guaranteed fund for offtake, you have the off-takers and they are well identified. There's data to back what it is that they say they want to offtake. We have producers who can also produce, and there's credibility behind them. This partnership becomes a seamless one between the states. As a production state, you now have farmers that you can say, this is the quantity they can produce, this is the price point at which they are willing to sell. And as an offtake state, we can say, this is the quantity we want, this is when we want it, this is the price at which we want it. And that way, that marriage becomes one made in heaven. We know what is coming in, the producing state knows what is going out, and at the end of the day, everyone can now tailor their interventions specifically to this sector in a way that you can see the impact. There's no more guesswork, there's no more story around it, and everyone is better off for it.
Well, Mr. Governor talked about the implementation through the Lagos Food System Infrastructure Company. I think you talked about all of that, and yes, key purpose vehicles like the Lagos bulk trading. What I would have said, you should shed more light on that, but you already said that the 500 billion naira, which I know really it's not your ministry or Lagos government that is managing that. But can you tell us a little bit around that investment, as in talking about the guarantee fund in itself?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So like I said, the guarantee fund itself, it is a pooled fund from private sector players. I mean, you heard when Mr. Tony Elumelu said that, okay, they will be putting in 25 billion into it. You have other private players, banks, private corporations that will be pulling in those funds together. It is a pooled fund to say, we have this fund for the food systems of Lagos, guaranteeing that whatever is produced anywhere for Lagos, we have funds behind it. There's a private sector, or there's a vehicle, there's an SPV, a special purpose vehicle called the Lagos Food Systems Infrastructure Company. This vehicle is the driver behind the Produce for Lagos initiative. As governments, we understand our place. We are a regulator. If you want markets to thrive, as government, you must take yourself out of it. You can only regulate and have oversight, but you must not meddle in market affairs. Like I said, food is already coming into Lagos. There are traders in between. There are middlemen. There are producers. There are off-takers. There is a system already. It's just that that system is informal. We need a formality around it for everyone within the system to have that right data for the right investment, for the right interventions to be put in place. And that is why we felt that as government, we can't do it on our own. Private sector must be involved, and it must even largely be private sector driven. So LAFCINCO, which is the Lagos Food Systems Infrastructure Company, is that vehicle between the private sector with a little bit of government in it, just for oversight. And that vehicle is what will drive the Lagos Food Systems Produce for Lagos program. Now, under LAFCINCO, you have subsidiaries, and that is why you have the bulk aggregation trading company, which will largely be the commercial arm for the offtake. They are the ones that will enter into production contracts with producers and also with off-takers. You have the fund itself, which is also being managed separately, and then you have the logistics part of it, which is the eco-logistics. These are all private sector-led subsidiaries of LAFCINCO, and these will be driven independently, but at the same time intertwined in such a way that there's seamless integration around it. So as Lagos State, we will take the back seat. We would do the sister-to-sister states collaboration, but the private sector bodies around this will be the ones to harness all of the interventions and all of the processes, and they will be the ones to see everything through to ensure that from production to market, there's a seamless transmission.
All right, before I let you go, because I know you have other engagements, you've embarked on several initiatives as a state, which have been championed by your ministry. Take us through some of them, and what are the notable achievements so far before I let you go, Honorable Commissioner?
Okay, so in terms of what I would say we have done in the last couple of years, I think for me, the biggest one would be what is materializing today, which is a Produce for Lagos program. We kicked off with the start of the administration of Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu with the launch of the 5-year agricultural and food systems roadmap, and this has actually been the blueprint we have followed. Like I mentioned earlier in this interview, the biggest area of play for us as Lagos is markets. We understand our space and our place in the food chain, and organizing markets, we've seen and we know the wonders this can do, particularly in catalyzing the entire system, the entire chain, and bringing about the required productivity that we've all invested so heavily in. So that agricultural and food systems roadmap, from that, we have been able to design markets, the logistics hub, which will be commissioning the phase 1 in this year, the food hubs, which would also be commissioning some additional ones within the next couple of months. I think these are largely key infrastructure that we have worked so hard to develop, and we can see the impact of that. From the interventions also around food, let's use the Onje Eco Food Discounts Market, the Onje Eco Farmer Subsidy Program. They have actually helped us tailor interventions in a way that is so much more precise and in a way that is so much more impactful that it can be measured. The outputs, the outcomes can be measured. And also it helps us to aggregate data in a way that we've not been able to do so before. Also, we talked about the young ones. How can you showcase agriculture in such a way that it becomes somewhere that kids want to be in and play in as a career pathway? We have the Lagos Agri Innovation Club. I think personally for me, this is something that is so dear to my heart and dear to the heart of Mr. Governor. The future of our food systems is in the hand of the youth, and there's no better way to showcase to the youth that see there is potential in this space than creating an ecosystem that they understand, an ecosystem telling them in a language that is theirs, and also rallying around them in a way that they have the free-handedness to do what it is they require to do in their own creative way, but at the same time delivering results. So you have the Lagos Agri Innovation Club, which is growing by the day, and we are supporting in terms of grant giving. But I think grant giving is not the main thing. I think it's just the ecosystem of support that we have been able to channel. And when you see these young people doing things on their own in a bigger and better way and growing enterprises where they can now actually employ more people, produce more, offtake more, that is a game changer. You have the Lagos Agri Scholars Program also for secondary school students, building school farms, smart school farms, in a way that these kids also see that the utilization of technology is not only for specific sectors, even within the agri space, you can do that. And we have so much more that, we are working towards, just trying to ensure that we showcase agriculture and food systems in a completely different light. So there are many, many, many things that we are doing behind the scenes, but at the end of the day, the bottom line still comes back to how the food you buy, how it impacts your pockets, how much are you spending, how much disposable income is available to you. So all of these things they are still rallying points for all of us, just to ensure that at the end of the day, you as a consumer, I as a consumer, we can say, yes, when so and so was there, we were able to buy food at this price, and it was far reduced, better quality, delivered on time, sold in a very neat environment. You are happy, I'm happy. And so that is when I'll say that we have achieved so much. So for now, I think everything we are doing is still work in progress. We have a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for improvement, and we'll continue to do that. And so till we deliver on this food systems initiative on Produce for Lagos, that is when I'll say that we have achieved a lot.
I must thank you so much. Interesting conversation with you as always. I've been speaking to Commissioner for Agriculture and Food System, Lagos State, Abisola Olusonya. Thank you so very much and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much and have a great weekend too.
All right then.
Okay.
Well, we will take